First up, Michael Combs. Michael is founder and CEO of CareerTrackers. He leveraged his first-hand experience of the INROADS internship program for ethnic minorities in the United States and adapted it to create CareerTrackers to address Indigenous disadvantage throughout Australia. CareerTrackers is a national non-profit organisation that creates internship opportunities for Indigenous university students. In 2000, Michael was named the Gales Millennium Scholar in 2003 and was awarded the United States Congressional Medal for Service for Community Outreach and Development, and in 2013 was recognised in the inaugural Westpac Community Leaders Award for Social Entrepreneurship. We talk about doing good. This is a man who does good. I had the privilege of attending one of their annual gala dinners a few years back where these young kids get up and talk about their experience and what they've learnt through the internship program. It is quite astounding. On that night, let me tell you, there was not a dry eye in the house as these kids talk about their experience. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael to the stage.
My name is Barbie Lee Kirby. I'm a proud Noongar woman from Brewarrina. Brewarrina is located in northwest New South Wales.
I know that this can be literally a life-changing opportunity for many of the interns. Not only does it allow them to focus on their studies, as well as combine that with practical experience, it also gives them an opportunity to develop a career path that they may not get within their home communities.
You've got the Brewarrina Shire Council, you've got the hospital, community health, but there's nowhere else for these kids to get the skills that they need to get jobs.
This internship has been very valuable to me. It aligns with my aspirations. My confidence has skyrocketed. The corporate world can be quite scary, but the team I am in has encouraged me every step of the way.
For Barbie Lee, I feel it's a very, very important step forward. I know that she's become very much a role model in her community.
One of the CareerTrackers motto is that when one of us is climbing and making pace, we have to pull others up with us. In the audience tonight, there are 5 young Aboriginal girls from my hometown, Brewarrina. My goals last year was to give back to my community and create awareness of the abundant opportunities that are out there for our young people. To let them know that the path you choose in life is a path you create, not the path others may indirectly choose for you. This isn't about setting expectations for them, but showing them that there are more opportunities out there and they are available to them if they want to reach out and grab it.
It's an experience that I'd like to repeat in the future with other interns as we progress through the program in years ahead.
Her achievement is also our achievement from all the years before. So it makes you feel like a parent that you've done your job.
I would like to return home to my community and provide them with the education that I have received to empower other Indigenous women.
That was a very evil trick of them false starting my video. I was in the restroom, I heard the video come on, I'm running down the hall. Very, very good job, AV guys. My name is Michael Combs, I'm the founder and CEO of CareerTrackers, and that was my vision 7 years ago. It was a vision about how do we create access to opportunities for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders that unlocks this untapped resource that exists in this country. CareerTrackers is a non-profit organisation that supports Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander university students into paid internships each year of their university degree, with the aim of increasing the success rate or the graduation rate of Indigenous students at university, and B, getting more Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders in professional jobs and in the private sector. When I started CareerTrackers, we started with this principle of excellence. We started with the principle of we have to be excellent as an organization because we expect excellence from our students. I started this organization with the principle of innovation. We have to do things totally differently. We cannot fall into the traps of traditional ways of thinking, which is just throw money at the problem, it'll sort itself out. We had to innovate. And the third principle was the principle of learning. Genuinely wanting to learn, how do we craft and create this program and this model to have change that's going to endure for the next 50 years? Those three principles set CareerTrackers on a path that has seen the organization grow from 18 students and 9 companies when I started. Today there's 1,138 students in our program working across 91 different companies. It was those three principles that we knew was going to be hard for us to live by ourselves, but it was also going to be hard for us to find partners who would stand by and believe wholeheartedly in those principles. And I'd like to talk about today about some examples of where I think those principles go wrong and test you as a leader and as an organization. I want to talk about some examples of where those principles go right and you see amazing things happen. And then I want to talk about the specifics of growing a program and an organization and some of the internal challenges and conflicts that the belief of those three principles present on a daily basis. So let's start with the macro. I want to start with where things can go wrong. So we all know that a lot of organizations, they want to employ Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and there's a lot of different drivers behind that. Some drivers are contractual. I would call them some companies' approach to compliance. There are other organizations who fundamentally believe that it's just the right thing to do. When I first started CareerTrackers, I remember sitting down with this organization in WA. It was on a Wednesday. And we went in and we were really excited to go. We were, really small and trying to prove the model. We went into this really big organization and we were super excited because if we get a big brand like this on board, it's going to really help propel us. We sat down with them on the Wednesday and we said, we've got 3 students and here are their resumes who have nominated that this is a place that they'd like to work. And the organization said, yeah, we believe in the program, sounds great. We'll get back to you. Now, core to those principles is that idea of excellence. So it's essential that these students interview for their jobs just like anyone else. It's important that they're selected on merit, not because of their culture. On a Friday, I got a phone call from that company. And I said, Michael, we're really excited to be a partner of CareerTrackers. Those 3 students that you presented to us on Wednesday, we need them to start on Monday. I said, hang on a minute. You haven't met them. No, it's fine. We've got an intake, we've got an induction happening. It needs to happen on Monday. And I said to the HR manager, how many people have you ever hired that you've never met? It was exactly that level of silence on the phone. I said, no, thank you. You don't have the same values as us. We will not put our students forward. They will not be coming in on Monday. And that was a tough decision. And I'm not afraid to make a sort of a big rash decision like that. It's a bit of the way that I lead the organization, a really tough decision. When you're small, you want this, you need this brand, but you come back to those principles and philosophies and say, no, that's not right. And why is it not right? Because we have a vision to be here for the next 50 years. We know that the change that we're trying to enact, the change that we're trying to enable, it will take 50 years. And by subscribing to a company and a philosophy that doesn't align with our principles and beliefs, we're not going to get there for 50 years. Now I'll tell you an example of where I think leadership and culture really come together for big change. So our traditional way of engaging with companies is companies pay us a sponsorship fee for every intern that they employ. Very key to the establishment of CareerTrackers was no government funding. We didn't want to be sort of held to the ebbs and flows of budget cycles and elections, and we see what that has done to Indigenous programs and communities for years and years and years. So fundamentally, no government funding. We haven't taken government funding and nor will we. But the model of that sort of transaction business engagement presented a lot of challenges for us as an organisation, primarily around cash flow. And anyone who's in a small business, you know that cash flow can be a very frightening thing. But we also knew that in order to be here for the next 50 years, we had to send the biggest possible signal of trust to the communities that we were working in, to the household, to the families. We had to make sure that the students and their families knew that we are going to be here for not just this generation, but the next one and the next one after. And so I had this idea that I wanted to get one company to sign a 10-year partnership with CareerTrackers. And when I had that idea and I sort of shopped it around a bit, you know how you sort of got these crazy ideas and you just sort of lob them out and see how sort of the response is. Well, every lob I got was a smack back. It's ridiculous. Like, there's no way that a company is going to sign a 10-year partnership with a non-profit organisation or an Indigenous non-profit organisation. But I knew that we were having a lot of really great success, and I knew that there was one managing director who would be silly enough to buy into this idea. His name's Craig Laslett, and he was the managing director of Leighton Contractors at the time. I saw him at a Qantas function, and I knew that that night I was going to bail this guy up and sort of really hit him hard with this idea. And so I just sort of stood back and I watched him, and I watched how many glasses of wine he was drinking. And I knew that you couldn't go too early, right? You needed a couple of glasses in there, but you couldn't go too late either. And so I walked up to him and I said, "You're going to sign a 10-year partnership with CareerTrackers." He said, "Michael, that's ridiculous. Why would I sign a 10-year partnership with you?" I said, "Well, what kind of contracts do you want in your business? You want long-term contracts. Why? Because they give trust to your staff, they give trust to your shareholders. We are no different." And he sort of just brushed me off and he said, "Okay, yeah, come see me." So I rang his EA the next day and I said, "Hey, I need to come see Craig because he's going to sign a 10-year partnership." And she goes, "Okay, when do you want to see him?" I said, "Whenever he can meet me at the pub." Because these aren't the sort of conversations you want to have in a boardroom. And so we met, and I explained to him the importance of relationship and longevity and stability for Indigenous Australia and for our program. And he said yes. He signed the first 10-year partnership with CareerTrackers. And then I said to him, "Well, you're not off the hook now, because now I want you to come with me and get 9 other CEOs to sign up. I want 10 companies to sign 10-year partnerships with CareerTrackers." In 6 months, we had 10. Today, we have 18. And what that has done for our interaction and relationship with our students and their families has been transformational. And I think that for Craig, it was about understanding the culture of his organisation, the belief in what we were doing and in this vision, and the alignment of those principles that he stood behind this program. As we now have 18 10-year partners, the complexity of CareerTrackers is ever growing. And I think as the leader, it really tests you in the way in which you can lead at different stages of your organization's growth. So in the early stages, and people would probably still say this about me, in the early stages, very aggressive. Very aggressive, like we've got to push hard, we've got to innovate, we've got to go very, 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 very hard. But in time, as we sort of build and build and build, we've got 65 staff now, we've got offices in every capital city, we have to calm that culture down. And for me as the leader, it puts me at this crossroads about, well, where is my place in this organization? Because we've all read the case studies of the founder who hangs around too long, and he starts to actually be counterproductive because the organization becomes more about him or her than about the principles and beliefs. And I have to tell you, it's been a very tricky point in the state of this organization, because you have so much love and passion, you have become the face of this program, but you have to realize where your style of leadership has to temper away, and what are the things that you're really, really good at, and what are the things that you're not so good at. And so what have I done to sort of help with that transition is I've started another organization, Career Seekers. So this is now working with asylum seekers and refugees. It is again with that fundamental belief of there is this incredible talent pool sitting there that cannot access professional careers. And the idea and the belief of Career Seekers came from listening to those 91 corporate partners that we have today, all talking about diversity, talking about their diversity plans and strategies that are moving. We're doing a lot of really great stuff in gender. We're now starting to get some traction in Indigenous. What do we do around multicultural diversity? And then you look at all of this amazing talent that just doesn't know how to navigate the system. And that was very true. It brings me back to the conversations that I was having 7 years ago with Indigenous employment and the sort of feelings that organizations had around it's really, really hard. We don't really know where to start. So Career Seekers is working with mid-career professionals who are tertiary qualified. They've got really good English skills. They just struggle to navigate the system. They do 12-week paid internships at the end, either convert into full-time employment, or we have the opportunity to remove 3 of the biggest barriers that they face. One, they don't have an Australian company on their CV, which means they don't have a local reference, which means they don't have a network. And if we can get those individuals engaged in professional employment, reconnected with their careers, overcome those 3 big barriers, I think we're going to solve a lot of the social issues that we're starting to hear the grumblings of. I'll give you an example. We had one young lady in our program she was a bank manager in Iran. And we said to Westpac, hey, you know that branch that you have in Western Sydney with that very multicultural community that you've got white Aussies behind the counter? Here's a Muslim woman, she speaks 3 languages, she's a bank manager, she'll do a teller job, no problem. So they gave her an internship. I went out to that bank and the most amazing thing happened. People come into that bank, they push the button, they get their ticket. When their number is called, if it's not Fez's window, they stand to the side. And she has her own queue nearly all day. And I think that from a social perspective, we've taken someone who is incredibly capable and given her an opportunity. But make no mistake that there's a business imperative as well, because that bank manager has told all of his other mates, who are now all ringing us saying, hey, can we have a Feza as well? Because diversity is just good for business. And I think that that is the example that just proves that yes, we can do really great social things and have amazing business outcomes. Now I went and thought, if this woman, so capable, she's been here for 3 years, unemployed, cannot get a job, why? And so I went on to Westpac's website and I wanted to apply for a teller job. And I think also very key to us as an organisation, we see our role as pushing. We want to push companies, we want to push their thinking. And so I went online, the very first question they ask is, are you an Australian resident? Now Feza has to answer no, so she's gone. So I sit down with one of the heads of HR at Westpac and I said, tell me, why do you ask that question? Why is that the first question? Oh, Michael, we need to make sure that they have working rights. Very different question. If you ask the question, do you have working rights in Australia? Feza answers yes, she goes through your process. And I think as an organisation that really thinks about those three principles of excellence, innovation, and learning, we have been able to push and push and push and create amazing opportunities. In Career Seekers, it took me 12 months to get 18 interns in Career Trackers. In 7 months, we have 51 interns working in Career Seekers. And part of this journey is about, if we take it back to leadership and culture, for me it was about being the leader of Career Trackers, knowing when to step back and get out of the way of the organisation's growth, and also give me something else to play with. Thank you very much.